Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. And I welcome you especially to Ways Breakfast hashtag What Are You Saying? The show where we spark real conversations that matter. Today, we're delving into a topic that has once again taken center stage in Nigeria's political and social conversations. Yes, it is the ongoing issue as regards Nnamdi Kanu, and we're talking Biafra, the state and the streets, and today we are reigniting the secession conversation in Nigeria. More than 5 decades after the Nigerian Civil War, the call for Biafra still echoes through the streets, the courts, and even online spaces. Just this week, we've seen renewed protests calling for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, popularly known as IPOB, as activists and the police clash over the right to demonstrate peacefully. At the same time, the military has come out to reaffirm its loyalty to democracy after coup rumors made the rounds. All these raise important questions about Nigeria's unity, federalism, and how the state responds to dissent. Pardon me. Well, I'm your host, Okikiola Taiwo Jaloko, and joining me to unpack this is my brilliant co-anchor, Goodness Idehe. Good morning, Goodness.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm doing
You
well.
look amazing.
And you too. I like your style.
Thank you. Thank you. Continue. Anyways, so I want to ask how your weekend went, but first off, waking up this morning gave me a very different vibe. As at last night, I did not remember that it's been 5 years since the Lekki Toll Gate massacre, but you know, I woke up and I realized that today's 20th of October. 20th of October rings a bell. It's telling me something. What is it? And it had to take me sitting and reflecting to remember that 5 years ago we had the Lekki Toll Gate, massacre that happened. And the fact that there's still a lot of controversies surrounding that day, from the no death happened to people who sought asylum in other countries to, to all of the people who lost their lives,
or their loved
or their loved ones on that day, but we still can't find a comforting answer or a comforting theory to what happened at the Lekki Toll Gate massacre. So how do you feel about that 5 years after and still no straight answer to what really happened?
Well, first of all, I would say that you know how the country is. We know how to sweep things under the carpet, especially if it involves, people that are in the high and mighty positions, and even in the government. So when something is related, or any top government officials are kind of involved, they tend to know how to bury such cases. And well, it's nice because I think after a year and 2 years, we still had the protest at still the Lekki Toll Gate to just like a remembrance of what had happened. And to have it today, we still put it out there for those who actually even lost their lives, for a good cause actually, because it was to stop police brutality, especially in Lagos. There's this SARS people.
Absolutely.
And everything. Yeah. So I would say that still, may God perfect their soul. And also out there saying that generally in this society, I feel that youth nowadays are now coming out more, right, to seek, how I put it, to seek help or to seek a redress when it comes to injustice in the country. Unlike before, where we had a lot of people that want to cower back and not come out to even confront, even if it is the government. The government needs, we hold them to what their positions are, to what their duties are, because they need to give us an account. And this is also a reminder every year, I think even in the history of Nigeria, and every man's heart, even down to the last common hope, that Nigeria is going to be a better nation.
Yes, and I think that's what I want to rest with this morning, that Nigeria is going to get better, even as much as it doesn't seem that way. It's very important that as much as we highlight the problems, we're also patriotic enough to know that Nigeria is the only home that we have. I'm not sure I want to be anywhere else except Nigeria.
Seriously?
Yes. Trust me. if you are born in Nigeria, you are born in Nigeria. There's nothing you're going to do about it. Even if you travel the entire world, you're first a Nigerian before you become a citizen of anywhere. And look at what's happening all over the country now, where or all over the world. You see the United Kingdom, you see the US, they're raising sanctions on so many immigrants. So at the end of the day, where is not going to send you back
No,
to
we still
anywhere?
have other countries that you can actually go.
Are they home?
They could be home
Would you
if you
have
make
to?
it
You will
home.
have to make an extra effort to make that place a home. Naturally, immediately. So I've gone to so many places that, by the virtue of speaking a certain language, be it Yoruba, Igbo, or Hausa, you already feel at home. You already feel like, yes, this person will get my vibe.
We
This
also
person
have
understands
such.
where
We
I'm.
also have such places in diaspora,
That's
right?
what I'm trying to
Where
say.
we have some communities that you can also find such languages.
You will have to go and find. Here, it's everywhere. That's what I'm just trying to say.
Okay.
In a street, you will not find that this whole street is only made up of this particular kind of people. Or even if they are, they have learned different ways to adapt. So that's what I'm just trying to say, is that there's nowhere that's going to be like home. So Nigeria must work. And then you have already said it will get better. But yes, to our viewers, if you're tuning in for the first time, this is a show that talks about everything that concerns you. Yes, of course, it's Ways Breakfast. Remember, you always be the main ingredient in all our conversations. So I want to hear from you this morning. Our phone lines are open to you. Please call us on 070-2500-7749 or 070-1424-2420. If you're also yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV, click that subscribe button right now, like and share the link. You can also tune in to channel 145 on your GoTV and do not miss this program. Well, as you know, today in history is our own way of increasing your wealth of knowledge. So we'll go on a break right now and we'll return with the headlines. So do not go anywhere. We'll be right back shortly. Yes, welcome back to the show. Now, let us take a look at what's making the headlines today. We'll be highlighting the top stories from the pages of the New Telegraph newspaper and, of course, The Guardian. Goodness will take us through the Guardian newspaper right about now.
All right, so now let's look at the Guardian newspaper this morning. And below the masthead, the Guardian leads with the story that says, farmers in limbo as bureaucracy stalls 50 billion naira tractor rollout. The story is on page 6. We can see a picture of so many tractors that are about to be rolled out. Then besides that, we have federal government reverses policy on math as parents and teachers protest. I'm so sure we're going to have many people on this table that are going to be calling out loud that why is there a change in the policy? So I'm going to be laughing from my own end. Below that, we have HASU confirms talks with federal government team. Strike enters 7th page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Along we have coup denier, not enough. Stem rising anxiety and discontent and orders, tells a federal government. And below we have Middle Belt Forum raises alarm over renewed killings in Plateau, alleges genocide. Also, we have ADC says defections can't save APC in 2027. Let's see how that's going to work with the statement. All eyes on that. And below the Guardian newspaper, we have NAFDAC rallies manufacturers to homegrown vaccine production. That news is on page 7. And lastly, we have, this is from Kanu, as it says, victims of separatist violence and others opposed planned protest. And let's look at this story that says, federal government reverses policy on math as parents and teachers protest. I know several days back, federal government came out to say that maths will no longer be will be non-mandatory for arts or humanities students that will be seeking admission into the university or tertiary institution. And I was wondering, because we even had it on this platform where we had to invite an educationalist that spoke on it, and his response was like, it wasn't really a good idea. And now we have a follow-up report on that. Finally, as some students had been celebrated, especially the art students, over the federal government announcement that mathematics was no longer compulsory for admission. Now, may have been cut short as the government has made a U-turn, insisting that the subject remains mandatory. I'll take that word again. The subject remains mandatory.
You seem very happy that it is mandatory.
No, do you know why? Because I was wondering, I'm not saying for the art students, right, that's probably I'm trying to throw shades at them or kind of stuff, because I am an art student myself, but I feel it's actually necessary because there's this zeal and this spirit that you want that if you don't take your math serious, and there's this energy you get from wanting to do better in your maths and even channeled into your other subjects. So if, for instance, let's say the maths is no longer mandatory, as at last week where we had that new policy, imagine how many total number of students that will want to roll into the arts department. And in this way, we can't really do without every part of the divisions, both the science, the commercial, and the arts. So if we're having more students in the arts, that means because not that maybe they can't do the math, but because they just want to feel that relaxation. They don't want to be, they don't really want to put in that hard work. And I feel it is necessary for art students to, to have that, even at least a basic mathematics. So to just wrap up that story, it said the government actually has announced the reversal just as parents, teachers faulted the mathematics waiver and advocated the pass grade, which is a good idea, not just making it non-mandatory, right? So last Tuesday, the federal government announced that mathematics will no longer be a mandatory subject for students applying to tertiary institutions to pursue courses in arts and humanities. Particularly, the government declared that the new policy would affect admission requirements for universities, polytechnics, College of Education, and Innovation Enterprise institutions nationwide. However, in a statement yesterday, finally, the director, because I'm going to add that finally, is what I've been looking for. The director, Press and Public Relations, Federal Ministry of Education, Folashade, clarified that English and mathematics, please put that in mind, art students, English and mathematics remain compulsory for all O-level students. So that's this part I'm going to be taking on this story. And let's look at what has to say is concerning their strike. As it confirms talks with federal government team, our strike enters 7th day. So as the 2-week warning strike back, I decided to focus more on education this morning.
It's all right.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities has to enter its 7-day union, who had confirmed as the strike to confirm negotiations with the federal government negotiation team led by Ahmed Yayale. And according to ASU, progress is being recorded in 5 of 7 demands. And in another development, the Federal Ministry of Education denied knowledge of any sponsorship request for 15-year-old Agbo Adoga, a student of Graceland International School, Port Harcourt, who reportedly qualified to represent Nigeria at the International Mathematics Olympiad in China. So I saw that. So I don't know if you saw that story.
Yes, of course. I saw the story where they said the federal government said they could not, they don't have the funds to sponsor that young lad. But it was quite sad. But sometimes I always like to take a back seat when it comes to certain headlines, because I always want to give it a day or two to really get the full story. Because sometimes when the news come out, everywhere is buzzing with so many answers or so many comments, so many views. Then over time, you now start to see people who are like involved in that story start to bring their own perspective, start to like open up or give a more clarity as regards the situation. So when it comes to Nigerian news or story, I always like to take a back to them and be like, okay, understood, I'll keep this information somewhere, but let me see how this information either develops or derails. Whatever happens, it will help me, you know, put together what my own perspective will be about that situation. I hope now that as he has come out to, you know, deny, they will still take, the cocoa is, this person has qualified to represent Nigeria. Stop the talk and just get working. This person has to be, I'm sure there's a time frame for all of these things. Yes. So if there is a time frame for these things, what are we still talking about? What's press release?
It's even going to give us a global recognition. Imagine Nigerian doing well internationally.
It's not even just Nigeria. See, I'm not even particular about what it will do for Nigeria. I'm particular about what it will do for that child. For somebody who has put so much effort into passing, reading. I can tell you, everyone who has gone to school knows what it feels like to read for an exam or read for a test or even read for anything. So now imagine reading for a competition with thousands of people and you emerged as the overall person. The boost is there. Now, imagine that, getting that boost that, yes, I'm going out there, I'm going to become the best that I want to become, just like the way we encourage every child. And then you're hearing that, bro, you're not going.
I'm even wondering, even our governors we have, imagine if it was like probably an entertainment stuff, where we had someone that came out in March as the overall winner. I've seen a lot of times where we have this BBN stuff, Big Brother Niger, where we see the winners, you see some governors calling them to come and take probably a position in the state or so. So I'm now wondering, this child particularly, he is a young boy, which we even need to even put under our own wings, let me use that word, to groom and train. He has gotten the peak. He has gotten to the peak in the national mathematics competition, and here he needs to go out to China to represent the country, and we are having this kind of situation. Even sending a public notice.
I can promise you that a lot of governors don't even know that happened. A lot of House of Assembly members are not even aware of the competition. The things that are critical, the things that are important to them, those things are not part of it. And that's why it's also important that when we call out this kind of situations, you divert whatever attention that they were paying into anything else, into handling a small issue as sponsoring a child who is representing the entire country. But I wanted to quickly talk about the mathematics before I go into my own paper. So, as a science student, yes, as a proud science student, it's a shame to see that art students have to get the pass not to
I don't understand.
Mathematics. And this is, see, she was trying not to throw shade at art students, but I am throwing direct, this is a direct shade. People need to do better. Why are you happy about failing maths or not even doing maths at all? And this is also to goodness. Goodness, look at your fellow arts and humanities
people. Did they tell you that we are not capable?
But if you look at the people who were the most joyous about this news, it's definitely
but
the
do you know
art
that
students.
I'm sure that they are not really to look at it. The power policy they initiated was not really basically for the common art students. I feel probably because of we have a lot of government children in schools and everything. Maybe they are the one not doing well, clamoring, because, sorry to spill out the beans, I've seen some government officials in top positions that their children are in schools, and please, they don't know dons. I'm going to say that. They don't know dons. They rely on expo cheating. During WAEC examinations, some of those students, you will see their parents, because they are in a particular position, they will have gotten the questions ahead and given to their children to practice, or even to their own teachers and everything.
Please,
not even allegedly, I know some of them, so I can't be covering some stuff like that.
So,
but
I would
for
say
our
that
students, we are proud. Yes, and I like the fact that we're going to do mathematics. I'm an accident. I did maths, and I passed mathematics. So I'm sure it's also not difficult for
power to the art people. What I want to really bring out is that mathematics, English, whatever course that as complex as we run courses in Nigeria, where you are doing so many things, as maybe as a science student, you are touching literature, you're touching this, you're touching that. There's a combo of so many things that you are doing together. And if you go out there, they'll be like, it's really cumbersome. But it has helped to adapt into many things. Yes. You understand? We regularly say a jack of all trades is a master of none, but better than a master of one, right?
Yes.
But nobody uses that to the end. They just say a jack of all trades, master of none, and it's a full stop. But for somebody like me that studied chemistry in school, I have no business in media. If we really look at the line of, what you are supposed to do as a chemistry graduate. But because they have opened us up to running for elections, participating in representing Nigeria or representing the school, it has also opened our minds to saying that, okay, beyond what this is, you can be this, you can be many things other than that thing that you have spent 4, 5, 7 years to do, right? Or you can use what other skills that you have to amplify what you have spent many years mastering. You understand what I'm trying to say? So when they brought out that policy about maths being cancelled, I'm like, well, I'm glad it's not for science, because ain't no child of mine gonna do science and not do mathematics. I did calculus, I did many things when it came to maths.
That one is advanced mathematics.
But I did it. You see, only art students will say that calculus is
but
an
you
advanced
know that you can also throw shades at us, because we also have some subjects in arts which science will also find difficult.
Like talking much and writing a lot.
Not talking
but this
much.
Is not a shade. Let me go into the New Telegraph right now, because goodness is going to beat me on this table. Well, on the New Telegraph newspaper, we have the headline saying, Convention, PDP crisis deepens as Anyanwu alleges forgery, petitions DSS, INEC and the police. We are behind Makinde, PDP. Former LG and party chairman says cutting falls on PDP in Southeast. Defecting governors, legislators can't stop your defeat. ADC tells APC. On another story, ECOWAS appoints Osibajo to lead election observation mission in Cote d'Ivoire. Another story here reads, Economic Summit. Mohammed reassures diplomat on safety of investment, unveils opportunity in solid minerals, tourism, education, and others. How to curb abuse of state pardon by lawyers. And another story here reads, Israel strikes Gaza as IDF, Hamas accuse each other of breaching ceasefire. Well, I think that's all the news or stories I have on the New Telegraph. But what's really bothersome about this newspaper, or about this story on the newspaper, is as regards the PDP crisis, as the headline here is saying that PDP crisis deepens as Anyanwu alleges forgery, petitions DSS, INEC and police. And they're saying, the ADC is saying that as many defections as they are, it can't stop their defeat in 2027. And for some reason, I'm so excited about 2027 in the sense that I can't wait to see how politics unfold. Every election cycle, politics keeps unfolding. We keep seeing something to learn, something to avoid, something to clamor for, something to fight
and
for.
Smart move.
People who are politicians, people who are stolen politicians.
No, you didn't say that part well. People who are politicians, even down to the bloodstream.
People who are politicians, even down to the bloodstream. But As I said, I can't wait to see this unfold. I've been seeing so many defections from PDP,
To
to
APC.
APC. Even though there are many other minority parties that have been moving to the APC, because PDP is the major, I would call the major competition of the APC. It seems like that's why it's making so much headlines where they're talking about the defections, the defections, the
And even
defections.
now, I heard that now, I even checked that in the House, we have majority of the ruling party in the House presently, which we even, in a way, give them upper hand. Because if you have two-third majority of votes in the House, a bill has already automatically become a law.
Well, I wish that was up to us Nigerians to decide, but it's always like after voting for these people. That's why it's very important that before you move into voting, or before you move into into voting, you reanalyze why you are voting for this person, because it's no longer in your power when this person defects from the party that you voted the person for. You can vote for someone because the person is in the Labour Party and the person gets in, and 1 month after the person has defected to the APC that you so hate so much, but then you voted because of party, not because of person. And this is why I always talk about character. We must start to vote. Why party is important, because you have to run under a certain party to be voted for. Character is very important. We must start to look first at the character of the person we are voting for before
The party.
the party. So character first, then party. And I believe that 2027, if we start to look at that, 2027 will be more interesting for us, because we will now start to realize that we voted right, not voted because...
Are you sure 2027 will be more interesting? Or it will be like a Game of Thrones where you have to kick out the pawn and the
That's
knight?
what makes it interesting. See, politics gets my adrenaline pumping. I'm like, what is happening? What's going to change? What's going to remain the same? How do I start to checkmate some of the people that are willing or that are going to cheat on that day? How did we know that they were rigging somewhere? They were kidnapping there? Because people were involved. People's adrenaline was pumping to make sure that their eyes were everywhere. People became the police, the DSS on their own. That's regardless of the security that we had. So yes, I'm excited for 2027, and I hope that people who are 18 and above would also be very excited. Use that opportunity to register to vote, and vote for character first before politics, or before
Political
party.
parties.
Yes, thank you. Well, that's all we have for today's paper. I hope you grabbed one or two information and are part of the solution, not the Nigerian problem. Anyway, let's go on a break and return with our hot topic for today. So do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. Yes, welcome back again. Well, today's conversation, as I said, is about Biafra, the state and the streets. We are this morning, reigniting the secession conversation in Nigeria. Now, before we look at the present situation, let's go back in time. Let's start from the beginning. We know that between 1967 and 1970, or if you don't know, between 1967 and 1970, Nigeria fought a devastating civil war after the eastern region, led by Chukwuemeka Odumegu Ojukwu, declared itself the Republic of Biafra. More than 1 million lives were lost and the scars still remain. The war might have ended on paper in 1970, but some of the underlying grievances still continues, from marginalization to the inequity in resource control, lack of representation, which has continued to fuel agitations against the present government. Now, if we move down to the present, the Biafra conversation has reemerged through movements like IPOB and MASOB. We've seen several protests in the southeast and across diaspora communities. Just this week, the Free Nnamdi Kanu Now protest gained attention after a federal high court refused a police request to stop the demonstration. Meanwhile, the military has publicly said democracy forever. Reacting to reports of an alleged coup plot from the state houses to the streets across major cities like Enugu to Aba, from Lagos to Onitsha, we have seen renewed protests and demonstrations, especially among youth groups. Civil rights activists like Omoyele Sowore has also come out to call on the police to protect protesters rather than confront them. For me, the dilemma I see here is freedom of expression versus national unity, because while many protesters call for fairness and justice, others interpret it as a direct challenge to Nigeria's sovereignty. Whether we like it or not, the secession debate forces us to confront deep cracks in Nigeria's structure, inequality, insecurity, and exclusion. But, well, yes, that's why we are here having this conversation. This conversation is very sensitive, especially with the fact that while I was on my way to work today, I kept on hearing about the Nnamdi Kanu protest that's going to happen, and why some people feel like Nnamdi Kanu should be released, and why some people feel like, you know, he should not be released. But if we don't start to address this situation or this conversation as it should, we're going to start sending uncalled signals to different parties, and it's going to mean a lot of things to other people. But yes, I have Goodness here, and I'm going to put her definitely on the hot seat.
We're going to be both on the hot seat.
To have this conversation. So, Goodness, would you say that this secession talk today is rooted more in historical wounds or in the current realities of governance? I'll cite an example. There was one time on the show where I had Oluchi and God's Beauty, and we're talking about how people in the eastern region have claimed to be marginalized, right? Especially in governance, right? And Oluchi was mentioning how she's not biased about it. But when it came to presidency, she went all off about the fact that they haven't been represented in the longest. And it made her feel, even as an Igbo person, made her feel marginalized, even as civilized or as educated as she has become. You understand? So do you think that this is more of historical wounds, or this comes from the current realities of governance generally in Nigeria?
Well, from time memorial, we've been having people who have been at the forefront of political activities in Nigeria, basically focused in the western part. So if you look at it from even before the time we gained our independence, before independence, that's before 1960, during the time we even had we were having, let's say, confrontations with our colonizers and everything. If you look at it in history, we have more of the Westerners. And even in issue, it's also recorded that more of the Westerners were the ones that were more educated in the different regions. That's in the West, in the South, even in the East or North. We had it a little bit very poor in the North. And that's why even before we gained our independence, Nigeria would have even gained before that 1960. But because of the level of education which had not circulated around the country, especially in the northern part, it had to be, dragged to 1960. Because I could recall when I did government in school, where it was said that Nigeria was supposed to get probably like 1959, but because of the northerners and everything, it was going to be like a wide gap between them if Nigeria had gained independence then. So if you look at it from time immemorial, we always have the Westerners always at the forefront of this political stuff. So it's not really like, oh, maybe it's something that they have to be marginalized, right? It's something that, and one thing about Nigerians, once we start something, or once a set of number of people start something, it's quite difficult for them to leave that particular thing they are doing. So I just feel that they need to be more united. They need to learn how to, diffuse into other regions or other bodies like the Yorubas, the Hausas. I mean, it's not only the Yorubas or the Westerners that have always been in the presidential position. We've had the Northerners even take positions, the presidential position. So why is it that they are the one feeling left out? So they need to also up their game. They need to learn. Politics or being a president is not just by saying, oh, you have, in Nigeria specifically, not that probably you have the wisdom or you have the knowledge or you have the capacity. You need to know how to play, permit me to use this word, the chess game. If you don't know how to play the chess game, tell me how you want to capture your king or be in the queen's house. It's not possible. Sorry, I'm speaking in parables, but you need to understand that that's just it. So if some set of people are feeling left out, they need to work on themselves. And I've noticed, again, when you were recounting concerning the Biafra war and everything, so I think it's also added to the effect of, in a way, affecting how they can actually get to the presidential position. Because if let's say from time immemorial, 1967 to 1970, you've had the issue of, oh, you want to have your own freedom, your own country. Because Biafra was not like, the niche for Biafra was not that they still want to be under Nigeria. They want to create a country, yes, of their own. So meaning you're already trying to like segregate yourself from the majorities. I mean, how many languages, major languages, we have several languages, but how many major languages do we have in Nigeria? It is recognized, the Igbo, the Yoruba, and the Hausa is captured as our major language. So to tell you that they recognize them, right? They recognize the Easterners, but you need to still up your game because you know how Nigerian politics is being played. If you don't play your games well, I'm sorry, you are going to get pick 2, pick 5, and so many things like that. So that's just it.
I know that many Igbo people who are watching this is going to come for goodness, but I'm saying this because while I was also reading the story, I agree. Let me run that back. I agree with the fact that you mentioned that what happened in history might have been a contributor to why there is marginalization or why there is no trust in the Igbo people to gain power, especially with the fact that they knew that from time being they wanted to be on their own. So what's the assurance that when they get into that presidential position, they might start to change certain things that would be without the control of, the average, human. But I also want to mention that I might not be there when it happened, but I don't also know what happened behind closed doors. What history says is that after 7 years, we gained independence in 1960, 7 years after, where Ojukwu was the head of state for
the Biafra Republic.
Eastern region. Let me just say the Eastern region, and then declared Biafra Republic. They had to. Yakubu Gowon was the head of state at that time.
Yes.
And then had to now also form a coup to go against, this person, or against Ojukwu. He fled, I think, around January 11th, and then Aguiyi Rossi was the one that was there and was like, I give up. If a leader can run, was my own, in this matter. So I feel like that might be a contributor, but should it continue? 1967 or 1970 till now, I'm sure that there are a lot of, we currently have so many eastern states where they are still part of the government house where they also hold very key leadership positions. Maybe not the president as we all see it, but in many other spaces, they are, something. Just like when they were talking about, what's his name again? The Senate president. Yes, when they were talking about Akpabio, they were talking about him being the first Akwa Ibom man to ever hold such position. So everybody, there's one marginalization seated somewhere in everybody's stomach talking about why they have not held a particular position. It seems like the president is the catch, but every region have held one key position or the other. And so for some reasons, even us as civilians, when we are talking about business, we're like, leave it for the Igbo people. Those people sabi business. They don't use business to play. When it comes to education, just like you were mentioning how the Western people were more educated than every other region. When it comes to book, it's only a book that Western people know. Let's just read book and get it over with, as many degrees as possible. When it came to the northern region, they're looking at farming, they're looking at, other agriculture generally. I know somebody from the north, I think Benue should be like the northeast or north. They are more into farming, more into agriculture, building lands,
like
doing
Kano, Kaduna,
all these places. So we as civilians naturally try to link a particular trade, a particular region, a particular whatever to a particular region. It's just like an Igbo man or a Yoruba man selling suya. We're like, this you should say this your suya go sweet. It only tastes better when it comes from this particular region. So even as civilians, we already try to, in our minds, we have marginalized a particular group to a particular profession. So if we now bring it into governance, it's still like, I'm not gonna trust you because you have showed me this kind of action.
Our government officials are very fond of recalling the past. That remember the time during the Independence Day where we had our president that was saying that education now is better than during the era when we had our independence. So to tell you that these people that are in the government officials, remember that they are not even the new generation. I'm sorry to say, Nigeria practices gerontocracy. That's where the old people try to take positions in the country. And these old people are the same people that the history is still very fresh in their memory. So if they are coming, they always recall, this happened. I remember then, too, it was also even recorded that during this time, during the Biafra War, their initiative of governance was not something that was totally accepted by people then in power. Then they were clamoring for confederalism. So in a system of government where at the local level, imagine how the local level will be ruling, or power will be more centralized at the local level than at the central level. So that was the kind of system or the kind of governance initiative they were having in their mind, which was not going to be, it's not going to work out in Nigeria. It's not possible that one particular state in one particular country, let's say Nigeria, will now be ruling like at the federal level, where we have thousands or more. We have 36 states in Nigeria. Ruling about 36 states is not going to be possible. So even the system of government, their mindset or the approach to governance that they were bringing up wasn't something that was even going to be tolerated by the literate people. Remember that they were more passionate about reading, education, and everything. So they know what they are doing. They know the system. If you are bringing in a system, they know that, this system is not going to benefit a lot of people in the country. So they won't take it. They won't accept that.
Can we say that federalism or this democracy that we're practicing is actually working? I'm just being the devil's advocate right now. But yes, let's just take a very small breather and then come back to continue with the program. Welcome back to the show. We are still on the conversation of Biafra, the state and the streets, and we are reigniting the secession conversation in Nigeria. We have been talking about how these might have come from history and why many people still, are still pained about it. Well, I don't know about many of the youths, because many of the youths are still, or Igbo youths, if I'll call it, are still clamoring for the Biafra because of the history. For if I'm going to run Nnamdi Kanu's story back, he was actually born in 1970, the same year when the war ended, when the civil war ended. So it's like he grew up listening to how the Igbo people were marginalized, why this, why that, why that, and instead of, as he has said, that he's just an activist to bring back what was lost for the Igbo people, their goals, their vision, and all of that stuff. I can't necessarily blame him for that. But where I'm going to drag anyone or any region is when they say that they want to go, separate from Nigeria. I believe Nigeria is fine as it is, in that diversity, in that togetherness, in those resources that we all share. Sometimes Lagos, I think Lagos GDP is high, but it still goes to some other states when they are still, the sharing formula still remains the sharing formula. So imagine that one state is earning over the other state, and this one cannot help each other. Nigeria even helps some countries with, I remember very well when Nigeria was the one that was even sending relief materials, helping people with electricity, helping with this, helping with that. So imagine that we didn't have that togetherness or unity with resources to help other people or help ourselves. Of what use is a country anyways? There are other countries that maybe it's the island that they have that they're using for tourism, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. When I go online and I see where they're showing Ondo, they're showing Obudu Cattle Ranch, they're showing all of these beautiful places from diverse parts of Nigeria, I'm like, yes, this is where I want to be. I don't have to go to Seychelles, I don't have to go to Mauritius, Maldives, and all of these places. Nigeria is as beautiful as it is, right? But many people will disagree, which I'll say. But I just want us to quickly talk about the government's response to, this issue. The state has mostly often treated these movements as threats to national security, which I might agree with, but to an extent. So do you think that Nigeria's approach has helped calm the situation or worsen the mistrust between the citizens and the government? If I don't know if you know that there's some states in the eastern region where shops don't open on Mondays. They stay closed on Mondays, and I don't know why, but then it's all
as a result of the insecurity in the state.
Exactly. So would you agree with the government or with the state government that these protests or this agitation is promoted rather than bringing security to the country, is actually worsening the national security?
Well, to me, I'm sorry to say, because I'm going to be a bit blunt, it's just going to create division in the country. And once there's division, we have several things crawling in. We have insecurities. We have so many things. I mean, we need to be united. We already have a lot of problems in the country that we need to solve, and we are currently solving. So why trying to seclude yourself?
No, Biafra is saying that we can solve our issues. It doesn't have to be a general
That's what I'm saying.
Nigeria
if they should
issue.
leave, do you know how many minority groups too that will also have that initiative? One thing about it is, once a person takes a lead, surely you are going to find other people that are going to follow. And that will start causing division in the country. Because if they leave, other minority groups will come up to and say that, oh, they've not been given opportunity. I mean, it is not just even the Easterners. Look at the southern part. How many of them are, okay, I don't even want to be mentioning different states, but we have several states, the Deltas, the Edos, and everything. So if Biafrans are clamoring that they want to leave, imagine how many minority groups, and we have several tons of languages that even me, myself, I didn't even know that it exists in Nigeria. So imagine them coming up to say that, oh, they've not also been given fair chance. They want to also create their own country. That is why from the initial, ab initio, Nigeria was already labeled as a nation state, not as a nation. Nation state because we have several states in one particular country. So you can't just say you just want to leave. And sorry to say, Nnamdi Kanu, when he was born in 1970, when you read his history, did you know that they actually had to surrender? Philip Effiong had to surrender in Dondon Barrack. Did you actually know why they actually surrendered? Because this thing is very funny. You're trying to carve yourself. You were part of a country that was formed together. Now you want to carve yourself out. How many things can you do? Now let's talk about even the starvation. Ordinarily, the time that they said they wanted to create a civil war, we could see what broke out of it.
The famine and the starvation.
And yes. So Easterners is known that they really, agriculture, they don't have it. Take it or leave it. So if you are saying you want to stay on your own, how do you even want to survive? Because it's just like saying the hand wants to leave the body and just the head and the leg. It's not going to be possible. Whether you are the leg, whether you are the hand, whether you are the eyes, everything needs to come together to function properly. So if the eyes is saying, no, I want to go out, how are you going to see? That's it. If the leg wants to leave, how are you going to walk? So we already formed a body already. I feel the goal is just to be how to make the country more better, not to live and, you know, be on your own. That is going to cause a gap. That's just it.
Maybe cause something that's going, or cause a situation where everywhere is going to look, you know, scattered. But I want us to quickly talk about social media. Social media has been one of the driving force of freeing Nnamdi Kanu now, and also been the driving force of these protests. For Moyele Sowore talking about, you know, freeing Nnamdi Kanu, protect the protesters, and all of that stuff. How do you think that social media is starting to shape this conversation? You find many quotes on social media talking about freeing Nnamdi Kanu now because everybody deserves a fair chance. If they say they want to leave, let them leave. Don't arrest somebody. They have arrested him in so many. If they have arrested me as much as they have been arrested in Nnamdi Kanu, I'm going to be like, see, you know what? Let me just go and mind my family. But, you know, sometimes the sacrifice of being the head of something is that you bear the brunt of whatever consequences of that action, whether good or bad. But do you think that this social media is now starting to amplify, you know, the legitimate grievances, or is it also fanning the flames of diversion where people are being tribalistic again when it comes to the conversation about Biafra and, you know, Nnamdi Kanu himself?
You're going to have different opinions in the social media. That's just is inevitable. Social media is meant for everyone. So as well as you're going to be having people supporting the Biafra, you're going to also have people that are also against it. And mind you, tribalism has been one of the issues Nigeria has been trying to resolve, and it's already eating up in the country. So it's not something that it is a newborn thing that social media is just social media was a cause of it. No, it had been, even without the social media, tribalism had been in existence. So the social media is going to be there. It's going to either flame, whatever result is going to come, and I can't say that it's one way, because we are having a lot of people, several opinions, several mindsets in the using the social media to amplify their voices.
I think that social media, I still haven't gotten the regulatory framework of social media. I just think that there are some conversations, as much as should give freedom of speech, should also be mindful when freedom of speech starts to promote tribalistic statements or start to promote hatred amongst ourselves. Some people, or we have so many young people who don't even know history of what has happened in the past, and will just come online and see free Nnamdi Kanu now, the Igbos can no longer take it, and that's the only thing they take out of there. And all of a sudden they start to hate other Igbo people who are not even, you know, or I can't say 100% of Igbo people are aligned with this view. There are going to be some that are happy to be part of Nigeria. We can't have 100% of everybody following through the same, you know, route. So I'm concerned about the regulatory framework of social media. When is too much too much? You know, where do we draw the line between sharing your own opinion and actually inciting, you know, problems for other people in Nigeria? So for me, I just want us to start talking about solutions. Where do we go from here? Let me ask you before I, you know, go into maybe express my own self.
From here, I just feel that whatever a medium we're using to communicate our voices, we should learn to use it properly, because you don't know who is actually going to read your message or going to come across your message, and in a way it can incite as well as inspire. So just remember that whatever you're doing, it can incite or inspire, and our goal is to promote unity and not to promote disunity in
So
the
if I'm going to talk solution, let your facts be facts. Don't come online and lie about what doesn't work. I know very well that there has been marginalization, and as I said, it is everybody has been marginalized one way or the other. Where naturally you say the Westerners read more. These are. It's also a form of marginalization where if I now want to do business, they're like, you can't be great at business because it's more particular to, you know, the Igbo people.
Yeah.
So I just feel like restructuring. What's in my head is how do we start to restructure Nigeria? How do we now start to exchange power? Let's forget. No, let's not forget history. Let's use history as a learning curve for us and still allow people get into the positions where they feel that they can fully express themselves. I know what it feels like when I feel like, okay, as a president, I've done so and so under this my capacity. I can do more as a president. I can do more as a Senate president. I can do more as a governor. And I see that just because of my tribe, I am being, you know, segregated from attaining that position. I know what it can feel like, that so many things will cause me not to get into a particular position. So maybe for me, solution would be restructuring. How do we start to restructure, you know, Nigeria? So, you know, 50 plus years after the Biafra war, and the question continues to remain, have we truly healed as a nation? I don't think so. The renewed agitation, they say, is not just about secession. They say it's about justice, representation, and belonging. So if Nigeria can confront these issues honestly, perhaps the idea of Biafra will finally rest in history rather than hover around our future. I don't know if Goodness has any last words as we wrap up the show.
I just want to say that as a Nigerian citizen, just try to do your best. And whenever you're in a particular position to get more people that can do the job, make it a very fair chance.
Thank you very much. I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you for joining the conversation. This was Ways Breakfast. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.